conference room, Rohnert Park Public Safety Building, 500 City Center Drive. I'm Brian Masterson, Director of Public Safety. This hearing is being recorded. To my right, if you'd please introduce yourself.
Mark Robinson, 1340 Graymill Court.
Okay, thank you.
Catherine Colburn, Admin Assistant.
Okay.
Chad Selber, Code Compliance Officer, Rohnert Park.
Jay Bradford, Building Official, Rohnert Park.
Denise Bizzano, I'm an attorney with Burke, Williams, and Sorensen. We act as the city attorneys for the city of Rohnert Park.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So just as kind of a point of order, what I'm going to do, Mr. Robinson, I'm going to let the city go first, okay, lay out its case. I'd ask you to hold any comments or any questions till the city's finished, and then we'll give you an opportunity to speak to the specifics of what's the hearing is about.
Okay, and which one is that? Is that the 1, 2, 3, or the 4th time they
So once the city,
changed it?
they're gonna lay out, right? We're gonna start with the city. They're gonna lay out what the
Okay,
issue
I just
is.
wanted to be able to follow along with it as they were speaking.
Okay.
Could you tell me which violation it is?
So you have a courtesy notice in front of you. That would be the first notification that we would be
With
speaking of.
you? The one you came to my house? I have your recordings on?
No, the title of
Okay,
the
let's
document
go.
is a courtesy notice.
A preliminary notice.
Let me
Preliminary notice
see.
of violation.
Well, I don't know. It's like I say, you guys have just been...
Preliminary notice right here.
Okay.
The next notification that we're going to be talking about is the notice of violation, order to abate.
Okay, which,
Does it look like this? It says attachment 3 on the top.
No, I don't have attachment 3. I'm sorry. Maybe you need to do a little more research on what you do, but I never got attachment
The date
3.
that we
I got
sent the
1.
notice of violation.
I got 2. I got Exhibit A. I got attachment 1, 2. I got staff
attachment 3.
reports. I got. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to investigate that before our meeting.
Can we make them a
Do you
copy?
want to go ahead and?
We'll make you a copy.
Well, that's no good. You can't give it to me now.
Sure, I can.
I can't investigate
It was
it.
in the mail.
Pardon me?
It was mailed to you, sir. We were just giving you a copy of the notice.
I got a
for
certified letter with these,
you. Correct.
and then one in the mail,
Correct.
and I didn't get number 3 in the mail.
Okay, so this is attachment 2,
And it's right
and
there.
that's right here.
Okay, attachment 2.
So
Okay.
that's it. That's what
Well,
we're
where's the
talking
one that says 3?
Well,
This
3,
one says 3 here.
right.
What
But
are you guys doing?
It said it was sent to you.
We're trying to get this hearing started. So why don't you let the city present its case, and at your turn, you can raise any issues that you would like.
So I can't follow along with what you. Okay, that's fine. That's what you want to do. It's being recorded. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, so the city investigated the property on November 21st of 2017. As a result of that investigation, we sent a courtesy notice on December 8th of 2017. That courtesy notice identified 3 violations that we asked to be corrected within 10 days. That courtesy notice included electrical work without permits, the inclusion of an accessory structure over 120 square feet, and the construction of 3 antennas without the appropriate planning approvals or building permits. As a result of the first notification, Mr. Robinson contacted us. We conducted a site visit on 12/29 of 2017 after the compliance date to see whether or not any abatement had taken place. Mr. Robinson let the city in at that point in time to the property. I evaluated the accessory structure and the electrical violations that we had noted in our courtesy notice or preliminary notice of violation, and didn't find enough evidence to suggest that we would be able to move the prosecution of those elements forward, so we removed them from the case.
Okay.
We sent a notice of violation on December 29th, with the remaining violation being the antennas. That compliance date was sent for 10 days after that, a date of January 8th, 2018. We've conducted subsequent inspections and the antennas still remain. We've given Mr. Robinson ample enough time since the November 21st deadline before we sent a notice of hearing on April 3rd. At this point in time, the violations still persist, and this is where I'll defer to our city attorney to delineate the requirements that we are looking to maintain with the antennas and the lack of a planning approval or building permit for said antennas.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so as you know, the city presents its case, and it has the burden of proving by preponderance of the evidence that there are violations pursuant to the municipal code. The city's presentation here is prima facie evidence of violations. In other words, we've presented our case that there are violations, and the burden would shift to the appellant. In this case, it's my understanding that the appellant's primary argument is that federal law preempts the city's regulation of the antennas. That is incorrect. The federal law is not specifically preempting local regulation, and you'll see in the staff report that the city presents this body with the relevant regulations relating to antennas. So generally, a city derives its power to regulate from Article 11, Section 7 of the California Constitution. And it says that a county or city may make and enforce within its limits all local, police, sanitary, and other ordinances and regulations not in conflict with general laws. In this case, the municipal code regulating antennas is not in conflict with any federal or state laws. The relevant federal law relating to citizen band radio service is found at 47 CFR Part 95, Subpart D, and Part 96. The FCC regulations governing amateur radio service, which is also known as a ham radio, are located at 47 CFR Part 97. You know, and I don't know if you're familiar with the difference between CB and ham radio service, but basically a ham radio service requires a license, and a CB radio service does not. And it's my understanding in this case, we're dealing with CB radio antennas, not ham radio.
Right.
But the distinction is important because there's really only one decision that's been issued by the FCC that discusses local regulations and the issue of preemption, but that decision only discusses or addresses ham radio. So, but in that decision, and the site is in our staff report, it's titled PRB, but it's codified at 47 CFR 97.15, and it analyzes the issue of preemption. In other words, whether a local agency can regulate ham antennas. And the FCC recognized that preemption is primarily a function of the extent of the conflict between federal and local laws. The FCC also recognized a legitimate and important state and local interest in local zoning regulations. So the FCC recognized that it's important that cities have the ability to regulate the aesthetics, health and safety issues that come with antennas. But it also weighed the importance of ham radio communications. They serve a significant purpose in emergency situations because it allows communication. So in balancing those interests, the FCC struck a balance and found that local authorities may adopt regulations pertaining to placement, screening, or heights of antennas if such regulations are based on health, safety, and aesthetic considerations and reasonably accommodate amateur radio communications. So again, it found that a local jurisdiction could regulate ham radio service if it made reasonable accommodations. So in this case, the city adopted regulations relating to antennas, and it did consider health and safety concerns and the aesthetic interests of the city in adopting the ordinances. And so the issue of preemption is not an issue. It's really not it does not prohibit the city from regulating antennas.
Okay. So, Mr. Robinson, you've kind of heard what the cities they laid it out back on December 8th, right? That there was allegedly 3 violations. They came out. The city did a site visit on December 29th. They amended the violations to the 1. You received a notice on April the 3rd that there was still a violation existed, and you have that documentation. The city attorney. You have 2. Before we leave, I will make sure that you have a copy of Attachment 3. Attachment 3 is really not much different than Attachment 2.
It's paperwork. Thank you.
No, I will.
But it's not a legal notice that you were required to receive.
I don't care.
Yeah, I'll make sure you have it.
And he has.
And to
It's
kind of
actually the notice itself for hearing.
Well, he has the notice of the hearing.
Yeah, and that's what attachment 3 is.
Well, I don't know. You guys are
That's
just
what got
throwing
him here
stuff out
today.
there. You know, I'm relying on you guys to know what you're doing.
I'll make a copy of this for you before you leave. Yeah. So, in summary, what the city attorney has laid out is that under CFR 47, Section 97.15, that cities have the ability to regulate ham CB radios. And in this case here, we have a city ordinance that pertains to the antennas. That is the city's case. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to say what you'd like to say regarding
You just said the city has the right to regulate ham and CB radios. That's not what she said. She's ham radios, not CB. CB has not been decided. Now here, according to your code, 144 licensed ham operators, 94928. Okay, now these people all require conditional use permits. How many do you have? How many have you cited? How many, I want an answer, how many have you cited for not having a conditional use permit for ham or amateur radio operators?
That's not germane to what we're talking about.
No, it is. We're talking about CB radio antennas. Okay, it's not covered in your municipal code. It's not covered in your code.
Okay.
Ham operators are. You are not requiring ham operators to get a conditional use permit. I pointed it out to you. I pointed pictures with multiple antennas. You have done nothing to cite these people at all. Okay? I've showed hundreds of violations of the Rohnert Park Municipal Code. I have sent it to the mayor, the manager, all of you. You all know it. You're in violations everywhere. You did a cover-up of a deadly playground at G Park, and when I turned it in, you guys covered it up, let it go. It's still in service now.
Yeah,
It is
Mr.
just unbelievable what the city has decided to do to prosecute me. I have been blowing the whistle on the city for 2.5 years for the non-compliance with the stormwater discharge system in the G section, which they
Mr.
let it
Robinson,
remain half full. So,
hang on one second.
you can stop me all you want, but I haven't got an answer one yet on any of your violations.
Talking about ADA violations in the city park, stormwater drain, that is not germane to why we're here. We're here to talk about the antennas
No, I'm a
on your house.
whistleblower. See, that's why they're going after me, because they're making up the rules for CB antennas. I'm a CB operator,
Okay.
not
If I
a
can
ham
interject
operator.
For a second, our code compliance cases are started in 2 fashions. Either we are proactive or we have requests from our citizens. You'll see in our staff report how this case was started. And I believe that the city has acted in accordance with what our citizens expect from our code compliance officers. We have gotten all of the correspondence that Mr. Robinson has sent. We have forwarded to the appropriate parties to investigate. We have either found the items to be compliant, or we have taken actionable items on all of the things that he has sent.
I would also add that the municipal code addresses antennas just generally.
No, I'm sorry. If you look at your section, do I have to look it up for you? But it's right in here, and it's licensed radio stations, i.e. ham radio operators. That's what it says.
But
It doesn't mention CB. If you go down to the next section that covers RSCB, then it covers the requirements for citizen band radios.
But you were cited for 2 sections of the municipal code. Do you have the file?
Yeah, an unmanned, a communication facility. You called me a communication facility. Why was that? Because in your definition of communication facility, it states it's an unmanned facility. You call my house a unmanned facility?
Okay, so there's Municipal Code Section 1.24.030D, which is a nuisance section.
And what does it state?
Well,
Please read the state. Please read it, please. Since you're going to
hang on,
state it.
I have it right here. Hang on.
And then we subsection 23, I believe it's anything that.
So 124.030D addresses any public nuisance relating to property in the city of Rohnert Park and the maintenance of such property in a manner of the condition that exists thereon, a deterioration, disrepair. It's basically a blight, reduces the aesthetic appearance of the neighborhood, etc.
Well, keep going. Where does it come into my antennas? It's
antennas
listed. No, wait a
are-
minute. Let's go down the list. I don't have a Wi-Fi here, but let's go down the list because it tells you each number what it is and which number is my CB antennas for your urban blight.
It's blight.
Right.
It's just
718. Oh, so you mean people parking motorhomes on their front lawn?
But
Isn't blight?
But that's not relevant to this.
It is
issue.
relevant because you had to pass all these violations to come to my house to discriminate against me. That's what you did. That's what she did multiple times. You came to my house. I have you on recording because everything at my house is recorded front and back. I have everything you said at my house. I have everything you said at my house.
If you would like
Okay.
to enter that into evidence at today's hearing,
Well, I
please
will
do
just,
so.
I'll just wait. I got them. I got all 5 recordings right here. So, I'll just wait. So you just let me know. I mean,
Yeah.
you told me right here. This is it.
So, Mr. Robinson, I'm not gonna. I don't work in code compliance, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that in all neighborhoods and business areas of the city that there aren't some violations. There are, but what we want to
Thousands.
focus.
Thousands.
But
I sent you pictures. Thousands of them.
Mr. Robinson, the point of order here is we're talking about the antenna on your roof.
I'm talking about discrimination against me.
No.
There's no code, there's no regulation against not having CB antennas on my roof. Okay, I have to get a permit if it's a licensed radio station. I have to apply for a compliance permit. But CB radio stations do not follow ham or amateur radio operators requirements. That says right in the codes, guys. It does. Didn't you read the codes?
I do read the codes.
I did. I read the code, and you cannot just make them up. And I know you told him that you can make up all the codes you want, and you can enforce your codes on one street and completely disregard the same code on the next street. You can't do
Excuse me,
that.
sir. I did not say that to him.
I didn't say you said. I
just
said
said that.
attorney did. I said an attorney told Jay that they can do whatever they want when it comes to code enforcement.
Well, it is true that the city has prosecutorial discretion. Any prosecutor has discretion in whether or not to pursue.
No, they said they can
case.
do whatever they want with the codes. Okay, they can, take part out, use part of one and part of another. You can't. Okay, it's just not. You can't. You can't.
So,
This is just all bull, is what it is. It is. Okay. It's
so
all
Mr.
bull.
Robinson, let me see if I understand your position. Is it your position that the city ordinance doesn't apply to CB?
Yes.
Okay. And it's your position that the code, the nuisance code, doesn't apply to your antenna.
Right, because the nuisance code spells out things like RVs parked on front lawns and stuff like that, which you do not enforce.
Okay. Let me ask you one more question. So, and it's your position that the city has singled you out, and that the fact that it's a CB antenna, it doesn't fall under the code?
Yes. Right,
Okay.
that is my exact,
Okay.
and that's what I've been stating
Okay.
all along, and since they refuse to
So this would say.
acknowledge it,
Yeah.
and they just keep sending different things trying to scare me, and I just keep sending things, and I've sent it to the Justice Department, and now we're going out to my senator,
Yeah.
because, you know, I have all this recorded too,
Right.
and it's just totally, I don't know what you want to call it, but
Well,
I wouldn't want to be associated with any of this going on. It's all going to go out. It's going out to the news already.
So, go ahead.
Sorry, before we continue, I do want to correct myself. I only pulled out the violation under 1, but it's actually, he's being, those 2 violations were dismissed. It's actually violation number 3 that includes 124.030D and zoning code section 17.06.030. So I omitted that zoning code section.
Right. And
Which
I think
that deals with
right.
the antennas.
I think Jay made that clear initially with the 3 violations. Then they did the site visit. He amended it to violations 1 and 2 were
Right.
removed. So what we're talking about this morning is violation 3 of the
3.
municipal code 1.24.030D, 0.23 residential zoning districts permitted uses.
They charge me as being a communication facility. That's what the charge is.
Okay.
Well, so
Right?
what,
Is that the charge? Communication facility?
So I think if we wanted to expand on the city's position, what we would say is that while 17.06.030 regulates communication facilities, that there is an inclusion for ham operators based on the federal standards because they have protections through their licensing. The city's point would say that because there is no inclusion of CB radios within that subsection, it is an all-out ban for CB radios.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. All out ban for citizen band radios. Thank you.
Section 1.24.030D.23 it is a list of all of our things that incorporate nuisances. That includes violations of the building code. Doing construction without permits, as has been identified within the confines of the construction of the antennas, is also a violation of the nuisance abatement. Not only is it visual blight and creating a life and health safety risk because it wasn't inspected as part of the construction, would speak to the fact that this violation still persists and needs to be abated.
Okay. Anything else you want to add, Mr.
Yeah, there was no construction. You just put up a piece of pipe mast and your antenna goes on it, just a CB. There's no power going to
Erection
it. It's
of
just
any
radio
structure is
frequency and
construction.
that's it. That's it, you know. So now you guys have said you're going to ban all CB radios. I like that. I got it on video. That's good.
Okay. So if you have nothing further,
No,
does the
no,
city?
I'm good.
All right.
I think
But I do have some questions about your non-permitted building. Your $150,000 worth
So
of.
hang on 1 second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the hearing right now. It's approximately 9:24. That will conclude the hearing on Mr. Robinson's antenna on his house, 1340 Gray Mill Court. Okay. If you have other issues, and it sounds like you've already forwarded them to the city code.
They're covering
compliance.
it up. They're covering it up. I sent it all
talked
to them. They put it in
multiple
service.
times about a proper way to communicate with city staff to get resolution to your
They
issues.
told me to keep it up. I have your email that says, thank you for the notifications. Please keep it up with the addresses. So that's what I have been doing under your instructions from the Code Enforcement Department.
Do you have a
I
copy
been,
of those instructions?
I
with
have
you?
all your emails. Yes, I do. Thank you.
Okay, can we see them?
No, I will put them out when I
Okay.
do my case
So
for...
I think we're concluding our hearing. If you want to take these pictures, or if you, I don't know if you want to leave them.
No, you guys all have them. These are going for the interviews with the TV stations and stuff that are coming out for G Park.
Okay. All right. So Catherine, can I get you to make a copy for Mr. Robinson?
Thank you very much. And make sure I do get a copy of that because
She's
it's all
gonna
gonna
make,
be
she's gonna
important.
make a copy for you.
Yeah. So, and I am passing out flyers to all the neighborhood houses, letting them know that you guys went and you still have it in service. It is totally not inspected, out of code, no drainage.
So I talked
Park
to
right
Public
here, and
Works
I'm gonna go
specifically
pass them
about
all
these
out
issues.
to
They
them.
had the manufacturer
Sorry.
of the equipment out to inspect. We have replaced any of the
I'm
safety.
afraid. Here we
pellets.
go. We got a
Mr.
New.
Robinson,
fall.
he's trying to explain to you what's,
No one has contacted me from the city from day one, okay?
Public
Nobody.
Works?
You have had multiple meetings with our representative and Tom Kelly regarding this particular
No,
issue.
Tom Kelly said he witnessed them not using proper concrete methods to install it. He witnessed it, okay? I told you that. You didn't do anything about it, okay? So your city employees witnessed the fact that it wasn't being done right.
If you
The
have
fact
any
there was no
documentation that
drainage.
speaks to these things, that which
I got it
you are
right here. I
alluding
just
to,
showed
we
you.
would be.
You just covered up the drainage. You covered up the water. You allowed them to cover it up and put it in
This
service.
was after a storm event. This shows
Doesn't make
that
it. You have to have drainage.
yeah,
You
and
are
it drained
required.
and it receded once the
3
groundwater table
weeks.
reduced.
This is 3 weeks after. 3
That-
weeks after.
Is there a date stamp?
Do you,
3 weeks
do you have
after.
any
Doesn't-
evidence that shows that?
I do. I do. I got tons of it. And I got the timestamps on my, when I took my photos, I got the timestamps, everything. And you guys, there's no rebar in any of it.
there's no timestamps on any of these
I
pictures.
just have to pull them off of my phone, okay? But there's no rebar in any of it, okay? There's no concrete below the footings. They put down decorative stepping stones, put the equipment on it, and then poured bags of quickcrete into it, and then put water on top of it.
Can you explain to me what the engineering principles you think are in violation here are?
Well, number one, it has to be inspected as required by law. It wasn't, okay? Number two, they didn't use 3,000 PSI concrete. Number three, the existing soil is not compactable. Number four, it's contaminated over the last 35 years, okay?
Do you have any
Number six, you have-
documentation that talks about the installation requirements that
You-
you say are in violation?
All you gotta do is look at the code. It's building code, UPC, the building code, okay? I've been a building inspector for 27 years at the Richmond Refinery, okay? I know all about building inspections.